Hello, and welcome to the Feeling Good podcast, where you can learn powerful techniques to change the way you feel. I am your host, Dr. Rhonda Borowski, and joining me here in the Murrieta studio is Dr. David Burns. Dr. Burns is a pioneer in the development of cognitive behavioral therapy and the creator of the new TEAM therapy. He is the author of Feeling Good, which has sold over 5 million copies in the United States and has been translated into over 30 languages. His latest book, Feeling Great, contains powerful new techniques that make rapid recovery possible for many people struggling with depression and anxiety. Dr. Burns is currently an emeritus adjunct professor of clinical psychiatry at Stanford University School of Medicine.
Hello, Rhonda.
Hello, David. And
hello,
welcome.
Diane.
Yes, today we have a really incredible guest. We love when Diane joins us. Diane Truong is a fabulous team therapist, level 4 certified in Oklahoma. And today we're going to talk about romance and the 5 secrets. And Diane has some really great examples of her work with couples to bring to our podcast. Hi, Diane.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be back.
Whenever we work with you live, doing a live demo like what we did in Atlanta, which just was that with Michael, that just was over the top, and it's just fantastic. And whenever we've done podcasts with you, it's just been fantastic. And so I just feel so lucky to have you back on today's show. This is going to be relevant to all human beings and is going to highlight a problem that all human beings have, all of our listeners, including you, whoever you are. And it's a very easily solvable problem. But most human beings are stubbornly unwilling to solve it, and it's the cause of almost all human suffering in the world today. So that's what we're going to be talking about, one of the most major problems with human nature and how to solve it if you want to. And P.S., you won't want to, but we'll show you the solution anyway.
Okay.
How's that for a start?
That's a great start. Well, I have an endorsement to read. Actually, it was written to us by Diane, and it was about episode 250, which was an Ask David episode with Matt May. And we did talk about 5 secrets in that episode. And this is what Diane wrote to us. I just heard episode 250, which was published on July 12th of 2021. And I thought it was so funny, helpful, and engaging. It was a beautiful 5 secrets from you, Rhonda, to your husband, Matt, and how you were boring him with your ramblings about the Inca geography in South America. I love the role plays with the 5 secrets, and I think clients can really benefit from listening to it as homework as we're working on improving their communication skills. I'd love more examples with romantic couples. And I want more of Dr. Knows. And I also loved hearing about Brandon's Feeling Great book club. It's so inspiring to hear the voices from all over the world on how it has benefited them. Cool stuff. Diane.
Thank you, Diane. Rutherford here. Thank you for inviting me. I try to hold back, but I will perhaps chime in from time to time today. I promise to be very profound. Of course, I always am. I know you all know that, but I wanted to remind you.
Well, such an honor to meet you, Dr. Knows.
They call me Big for short, Big Nose. All right. Well, it's great to have you, Diane. And you brought just 4 fantastic examples. Should we just dive right in, and then we can read the example, kind of assess what's going on, and then we can role play what a more effective 5 secrets response might be?
Sure.
Okay. Diane describes a wife continues to bring up things that need to be addressed. For example, the baby's medical needs, how her husband, needs to set boundaries with his mother, how he needs to take precautions because of the pandemic, and so on and so forth. And so this is what her husband said to her and how she responded. And we're always going to focus on the response because this is the person who's asking for help. And so the format is, if you're asking for help with your marriage, in this case, asking for help with a relationship with your husband, what is one thing he said? What exactly did you say next? And then you can look at your own response and say, do the EAR checklist. Did you empathize? Did you share your feelings? Did you treat the other person with respect? And then you can look at the consequences of your response. And what you'll discover is that you're always causing the very problem that you're complaining about. And that's a message that some people may be willing to hear. Other people may not be willing to hear. It involves giving up blame. And most of the time when we've got a conflict with someone, we're pretty addicted to blaming the other person rather than looking at our own role. But here's what her husband said to her. All you do is talk about stressful things. You don't even care about being romantic anymore. And then her response was, how can I be romantic with you when you aren't doing what you need to do for our family? This is a great example. So why don't you folks comment on it a little, and then I'll put my 2 cents worth in as well.
Diane, I turn it over to you. What do you think?
What are you looking for in terms of comments about the situation?
Well, I would be focusing on her response to him. Is she acknowledging his feelings? Is she sharing her own? Is she treating him with respect and affection, even if she's angry? And then also, what will be the impact of that on him? Do you see? He's complaining to her. He's telling her that he doesn't feel close to her, that he wants to feel close to her, but he feels kind of put down and and ignored.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you could clearly see in terms of the EAR, she's not engaging with sharing her feelings, acknowledging his feelings, or treating him with respect, because it's coming off more of like defensive and then additionally critical to putting him down that you still aren't meeting our family's needs.
Exactly. And then how will that affect him? Like, how will this affect his motivation to do more for the family?
I think it confirmed his criticism. She's continuing to talk about stressful things and criticizing him, and is still not being close or romantic. And so I think it ultimately made him feel more distant and decreased motivation.
Right. And then when he's feeling put down and ignored, how will that affect his motivation to do things for the family?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely decrease motivation to engage in any of these things. Yeah.
So who's forcing him not to do things for the family?
Yeah, she definitely is, in the way she's engaging with him, inadvertently creating this dynamic.
Exactly. Now, she has to be open to hearing this, and she also has to want a better relationship with him, because maybe she doesn't, and maybe so before you can ever use the 5 secrets, you've got to have someone who's motivated to I want a more loving relationship. In this case, with my husband, would have to be her theme, and she'd also have to be willing to give up, blaming her, which she's clearly doing here. See, she says it's all his fault, whereas she's the one who's actually causing the problem. Now, if we were looking at it from his point of view, if he was asking for help, we would show the same thing for him, that he's actually causing the problem. But she's 100% responsible for the problem, but she's 100% blaming her husband, and that's never going to work. Now, if she wanted, which I think is unlikely, to develop a more loving relationship with him, let's model how she could respond more effectively.
And before we do that, David, can I just jump in for a second?
Yeah, you can.
Tyann mentioned EAR, and that's the ear checklist that you've created. And I just wanted to, I'm sure we've talked about it before, but I just want to explain that a little. And that's where people look and determine whether they had good or bad communication based on E for empathy, whether they acknowledge the other person's feelings or ignore the other person's feelings. And A stands for assertiveness, where in good communication, the person expressed their feelings openly and directly. And in a bad communication, they fail to express their feelings, or they fail to express their feelings openly. And the R stands for respect, where their attitude is respectful and caring, or the attitude is not respectful and caring. And one of the things I've heard you say, David, is if somebody is not being empathic or assertive, then they can't be being, they aren't also being respectful.
Or loving, yeah, absolutely. And then we can spell this out a little bit more. When the husband said, now again, we're talking about this from the woman's perspective. How can she transform her relationship with her husband? Now, empathy means acknowledging his feelings. And when he said, all you do is talk about stressful things, you don't even care about being romantic anymore, what are the names of his emotions? And if you use the relationship journal, which you can find in my Feeling Good Together book, this is all automated. It's a form that makes this very easy. But when the husband said that, what are the names of his feelings?
Yeah, these are actually all real clients that I've had. And this exercise of identifying her husband's emotions was actually pretty powerful, where it allowed her to actually not just see his anger at her, but that likely we explored that he was probably feeling a bit overwhelmed with all of the stressful things, but also the more vulnerable feelings like lonely, disconnected, and maybe even a bit hurt.
Yeah, hurt. How about rejected? Unloved?
Yeah.
And even sad.
For sure.
Right. And probably is he anxious? Is he feeling anxious also? Like maybe I'm not going to have a love anymore with my wife. And, so we've just named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 emotions, obvious emotions that he's having. And then what we'd say to her, how many of those did you acknowledge in your response? And of course, the answer is 0. It's as if she has no interest in her husband because he's loaded with emotions and she's ignoring all of them. Now, what are the names of her emotions?
She's also feeling angry, frustrated, disconnected. Also kind of hurt, like she was talking about, like feeling left hanging by him.
Yep. And maybe she also feels kind of abandoned. You aren't doing what you need to do for our family.
And she's feeling lonely as well.
Yeah, lonely, and maybe also rejected. Right. And is she feeling put down?
Not so much.
Oh, no, wait. Yeah, when he says all you do is talk about stressful things, would she feel put down or criticized?
Yeah, that's a good one.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 obvious feelings that she has, and how many of those did she share?
0.
0. And then does her response convey warmth or love or respect?
No, it's actually kind of harsh and additionally critical.
Yeah. Right. And then the question is, does she have the strength to tolerate seeing that, looking at her own role for the first time? And this is what I call, from a Buddhist perspective, which I know nothing about, which is what qualifies me to comment on Buddhism, is that this requires one of the 4 deaths of the self, to suddenly see how you're causing your own reality. We create our own interpersonal reality at every moment of every day. And she's creating, her husband is her creation. But when she looks at how she's doing this, it's going to hurt her feelings pretty badly. And if she can tolerate that death, then she has a chance to be reborn and to develop a more loving relationship. So should we give a little practice to it now?
Sure.
Okay. Who wants to be the husband? Who wants to be the wife?
I'll be the husband.
Okay.
Cool. You want to be the wife, Tyann?
I'll be the wife.
Okay. Go ahead, Rhonda, and then we'll give you a grade, Tyann, say here's what worked, here's what didn't work. So go for it. And this is the way to learn the 5 secrets if you want to learn them. But both the relationship journal, the analysis we just went through, you have to practice that, looking at your own interactions with people, but then you have to do this practice that you're about to see. So go for it, Rhonda.
Oh gosh, all you do is talk about stressful things. You don't even care about being romantic anymore.
That's kind of hard to hear, but you're right. I have been focused on the stressful things, and like our baby's medical needs and the stuff with your mom. And hearing you say I don't care about being romantic anymore, I feel kind of sad hearing that, because I realize that we have been missing that romantic aspect in our relationship. And I could imagine you've maybe been feeling a bit disconnected and lonely, and I have too. And, I just love you so much, and it's been a lot on us in the past year, and I really miss you, and I really want us to have that connection again. What's it been feeling like for you?
Great. Now, what grade did you give yourself?
I was kind of overwhelmed with anxiety and nervousness, so I'm not even quite sure.
Well, I would give you an A+.
What did you give yourself, Tyann?
I wasn't quite sure. Like I'm trying to review and remember what I had said, but
well, you said
I tried to hit on all of the points.
It's hard to hear. You're right. I have been focused on, X, Y, and Z. I feel sad to hear when you're talking about how we've been missing out on romance and being really close. I think maybe you've been feeling disconnected and lonely, and I've been feeling the same way. And I want you to know that I love you a lot, and I miss you. Can you tell me more what this has been like for you?
Okay. Yeah, that all sounds pretty good. I may have missed acknowledging frustration and anger, though, so maybe a B+ there.
Yeah, I'd give it an A-, but for the same reason. And then if you were to bring that in and add more to the feelings, too, because we agreed he had 6 or 8 feelings and she had 6 or 8. But you're touching definitely on the most important ones. But, what's it been like for you? Are you also feeling sad and lonely and unloved and rejected and kind of overwhelmed or something like that, to give him prompts so he could have words to open up about it? But it was, so far beyond what this couple is doing or what most couples could do. And, I think any husband would just be thrilled to hear that response. So any additional input on your part, Rhonda? You said A+, right?
Well, I'm sorry I blurted that out. I felt a little impatient. I apologize, Tyann and David.
No, A+ should be blurted out. You did that correctly.
Oh, thank you. I did. I thought it was, there's always something more you could add about the feelings expressing his feelings. That I thought you had every one of the 5 secrets, and I thought you did it beautifully. And I felt very heartwarm. I felt it was very heartwarming and encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah.
The encouraging connection. I loved it.
Yeah, it was just fantastic.
I loved when you said, I miss you and I want that connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really what they're saying. I think to me, that's the music underneath what they're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's EAR, and it's very simple. And yet, no one in the United States, aside for Tyann, has learned how to do this. It's very rare that human beings will treat one another with compassion or love or good communication skills. It seems like everyone I hear is all talking about themselves all the time and arguing that the other person is wrong, and not looking at your own role in the conflicts that come up between therapists and patients, and between husbands and wives or partners. It seems like I can't say the whole world is like this. Maybe people in Switzerland are gentler and more loving, or Canada or Thailand or Vietnam or China or wherever. But I know the people that I see in the United States can be pretty hardcore. Even people who tout themselves as very loving and they think they're so empathic, but there really we can all be very self-centered. But let's go on and see if we get David to shut up. Why don't you two do this one? I would keep number 2 as so prototypic heterosexual. I think I would leave this one as a heterosexual one.
Okay. Yeah, and Dr. Burns is agreeing with what you're saying. I think
you're
we
real
all actually
faint, but maybe that's a problem with my speaker. Let me see.
Am I
it's a
sounding
problem
faint?
with my speaker. I'll turn it back up.
Okay.
It went down. Okay.
Do you hear me okay, Rhonda?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I think we all actually do have blind spots when it comes to relationships. And it seems like the ones that are closest to us are the ones that seem to trigger these communication errors the most. And I know in my own personal work, like on my relationship with my husband or my mom, it kind of blows my mind as I analyze my response. And I remember clearly just like how it brought me to tears as I was focusing on like how my mom was kind of controlling, on telling me how to like raise my daughters. And then realizing like my response actually like was really like hurtful, put down her intelligence. I was telling her things like, oh, that's like the old school Vietnamese ways.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't do that anymore.
Right.
And of course, we're therapists and we kind of pride ourselves on being good communicators. But I think it's so true that we all engage in these errors. And once we really look at it, it truly was painful. And I remember being in tears, and you're exactly right on like having to kill your ego to look at that aspect. And then it's really powerful how once you kill your ego, you do resurrect.
Oh, yeah.
It becomes so much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is a death and rebirth kind of thing. And what I feel is shame, intense shame, when I have to look at my own role. And then if I can let, my ego die, then really great things happen. But we cling to our suffering like a bulldog clings to a piece of raw meat. Not going to let go of this conflict. I love what you said. And you were forcing your mom to tell you what to do.
Right, because I wasn't listening to anything that she said or honored her words or her care. And so, even in like these situations, once we work through their resistance and then they actually engage in disarming their spouse, just like I trained this client, we did communication training. It is really powerful in how it creates a shift in him feeling heard and hearing out his loneliness, talking about the disconnect. And it does transform things when they're willing to engage in it.
That's what helped me, because I was so argumentative, and still can be on occasion, but I use the disarming and the 5 secrets the lion's share of the time. And when I started doing it, I started getting such great responses from people who had been angry with me, patients in particular, but anyone really, that became addictive. And then I said, oh man, this is great stuff. I want more of this. But it's really been, I would say, transformative as a philosophy of life, and not just communication gimmicks or something like that. Mm-hmm. But it's hard to learn, and people nearly always get it wrong, and then they get a bad response. They think, oh, these 5 secrets don't work, but what's really happening is they're like sitting down at a grand piano and pounding on the keys and wondering why beautiful music doesn't come out. I had to work at it really hard to learn it. Well, let's do this one. Sex comes up with every couple. And criticism is typically from the husband. So, I mean, I could be the husband this time. And Rhonda could be the wife. And Tyann, you can be the expert.
Okay.
And this is a typical one that you say comes up with almost every couple. And Rhonda, you never want to have sex. It's like we're roommates instead of husband and wife. And the typical response of the wife is, I'm tired and I can't just get in the mood when you haven't been nice to me all day. Now let's analyze that, and then we'll role play it. What is this wife's response? Tyann or Rhonda, how would you analyze this one?
Yeah, I think all of these responses get zeros in terms of like the EAR.
Yeah.
We're looking for connecting with the other person's feelings, sharing theirs openly. A lot of my clients try to give themselves credit on saying, I was sharing my feelings. But when you're sharing it in nonverbals through an angry tone, that's actually not really using the direct open feeling words. That is more connecting.
Yeah.
And then it's definitely not respectful.
Yeah. Now, to do the zinger, and I'm glad these people aren't here now because we'd have to be so much more tactful, but she's complaining that her husband hasn't been nice to her all day, right?
Right.
That's her exact words. When you haven't been nice to me all day. Who is forcing this man not to be nice to her?
Yeah, she's not been nice or connecting to him either, so it's hard to respond in that way.
Yeah, because she's putting him down. She's arguing with him. She's telling him that things are his fault, that he hasn't been nice. And that statement will make him feel hurt and put down. You see, he's trying to express the fact that he's lonely. He feels rejected. He's horny. He feels shut out. He's in a lot of pain, and that he misses her, that he wants to be close to her. And then she complains that he hasn't been nice to her when he's trying to share his tender feelings. And then she's dumping on him, pooping on him, and then complaining about the smell. And it's just amazing to me how blind human beings are, how we can't and don't want to see our role in the problem. She's not acknowledging his feelings. She's not sharing her own. She's acting out her anger by being hostile. That's not the same as sharing anger or sharing her feelings. And she's treating him like a piece of crap, like an angry school teacher who's, they used to have the whip in the old days, to punish the children. That's what she's doing. She's flagellating him. And shaming him and judging him. Now, some listeners will say, well, Burns is always, siding with the man. Well, that's another piece of horseshit, that statement, because I side with whoever is asking for help to help them see their role. Now, if this husband had come to ask for help, he would have discovered it's 100% his fault He's 100% causing the problem. But since we're working with her, we're showing her, if she's open to seeing it, how she's causing the problem. Because if she's open to this, then she can create love, just as she's creating rejection and distance by changing the way she interacts with him. Rhonda,
right.
any
to be
more?
fair, if he was the client, we'd solely focus on his errors, and how he's pushing her away, and
exactly.
He's the person causing them to not have sex, or causing her to not.
Whoever asks me for help, that's the person who is going to be shown their role in the problem, all the errors that you're making, and how you can transform this relationship in a flash, if you're willing to look at your own role and then respond with the five secrets. And again, I don't see tons of people who want to get close to someone that they're at odds with, even their spouse. And I don't see tons of people who are willing to look at their own role in a relationship problem, because they don't want the death of the self, the death of the pride, the death of the ego. I want to blame. I want to be self-righteous. Any additional words, Rhonda, before we role play this one?
No, I think you both have done a really great job of looking at this from with a great deal of depth.
All right. Now I'm going to be the disgruntled, lonely husband, and you can be the wife using the five secrets. Rhonda, you never want to have sex. It's kind of like we're roommates instead of husband and wife.
Gosh, David, you're so right. I haven't wanted to have sex in kind of a long time. And, it's hard to hear, but, you just told me we're more like roommates than we are a husband and wife. And I imagine you're feeling pretty irritated with me, but also I imagine other feelings, like maybe you're feeling sad or lonely or maybe inadequate. I'm also feeling really sad that we're so disconnected from each other. And to be honest, I'm also feeling really tired after taking care of a newborn baby all day. I love you so much. I'd love to work this out and get to a place where we're both close and we both want to have sex. So can you tell me what it's been like for you that we haven't been sexually active or even intimate and just cuddling with each other a lot? What's it been like for you? I love you so much. I want to hear more.
Okay. What grade did you give on that?
Well, I'd give myself, based on the grade you gave Tyann, I'd give myself an A-, because I think I could have identified a few more feelings that my husband was having, and tried a little bit harder to create, intimacy in our language with each other.
Okay. What was your grade in critique, Tyann?
I definitely think in the A range. I think she hit on all of the pieces. I haven't wanted to have sex in a long time, disarmed the irritation, even connected with the more vulnerable feelings. I think there was a piece that may have been a little bit like what would have brought it to the A+ is like, she says, I'm tired after caring for a newborn all day. There was a piece of that maybe felt a little bit defensive, and maybe it could be used as like we've both, like, I'm tired and I'm sure you are too. It's been hard for us with raising a newborn or something.
Yeah.
Instead of like giving a reason as to why. But there was just that piece, but I definitely thought like in the A range, and that would have brought it to the A+ if it was more of like a team thing. And this has been a lot for us with the baby, instead of just, that's what I've been doing. So I've been tired. But yeah, I think the warmth of I love you and what's it been like for you then melted away all of that. So
that's great feedback, Tyann. I love that. That's much more collaborative in the relationship. Yeah,
I love that. I also gave it in the A range. The one word I would change was that it's hard to hear, and you may be feeling irritated, sad, lonely, and inadequate. That felt kind of like a put down.
Oh.
The man who's being sexually rejected, he may be feeling kind of inadequate, but it's kind of, I don't know if you're feeling inadequate, sweetheart, but that's how I experience you a little bit. So I would say sad, lonely, and rejected, and just something like that would be a little easier to take. But overall, I thought it was just tremendous, just a beautiful response, and then to get to sex is to go through the door of warmth and intimacy and sharing of feelings and feeling close to somebody. And that's what would lead to her, getting more in the mood if she's involved in a loving, close relationship. And but you see, this couple is trying to solve a problem, and I've often said that. In a marital relationship, you should never try to solve problems, because it has never worked in 10,000 years and will never work in the next 10,000 years. The attempt to solve this problem is the problem. And the refusal to solve this problem is the solution. And what I mean is that this couple doesn't need to figure out what are the rules of sex going to be, but to get close, to care about each other. That's why I like my cat's my little kitty here, because I can just pet her and tell her how much I love her, and it's just so easy for us to feel really close to each other. And that's what cats like. That's what humans like. I'm not saying it very well, but Tyann, I bet, can say it fantastically.
Yeah, you're saying letting go of the outcome that we have to communicate in order to have sex. It's just focus on the connection, and then that outcome will just happen for them.
Yeah, exactly.
And after the 5 secrets, they often do get laid, so it works.
They get laid, did you say? Well, that's good. The street language, we can start being natural now in the way we talk.
Oh, people will be even more dedicated to learning the 5 secrets if they think that's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I over the years, I had so many horny single people in my clinical practice. 60% of my patients weren't in relationships. And I had an awful lot of patients because my turnover was really fast. And I had a lot of guys who had been kind of real lonely and horny, who started just focusing on using the 5 secrets with women they ran into. And they said they were just getting laid right and left.
Yeah, because people want to be listened to and heard.
Yeah. And you even see these cartoons of these elderly, I shouldn't joke around, ugly psychiatrists who just say, tell me more. And then these women are having all these romantic feelings about them. And, romantic transferences. And that's a genuine, a real phenomenon, that if you're, listening to someone and showing an interest in their feelings, it's a pretty unique experience for people.
It's very enticing.
Yeah.
Would you mind if I did one of mine?
Yeah, sure.
I actually, in this case, the husband is the focus, is the one presenting the issue, and we haven't done a relationship journal about this yet. It's just a very new client, and they're having fertility problems, and the wife is blaming him, and she says to him, "If it wasn't for you, I'd have a baby. I should have married someone else." And his response was,
"Let me write that down for you. I'd have a baby." So he has a low sperm count or something?
Probably.
Yep.
And she says, "I should have married someone else."
Okay.
And he doesn't say anything. He's feeling really hurt, so he just walks away.
Yeah. Great. Well, we can easily analyze his response from the EAR perspective. Now, the question is, again, with him, does he want to learn to respond to her in a different manner?
He definitely does.
Okay.
And he really wants to be closer to her.
Okay.
And he's absolutely willing to examine his role in the relationship.
Okay, great. So did he acknowledge her feelings?
No.
So there's no empathy. And what were her feelings?
Well,
we have to guess.
Yeah, sadness.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like there's some anger.
Mm-hmm.
No frustration.
Mm-hmm. What else, Diane?
I'm thinking like there's like an emptiness or something. I don't know.
Yeah, unfulfilled or empty.
Unfulfilled, yeah.
And
maybe worried.
Yeah, anxious.
Yeah, anxious. Great. And then
kind of resentful. It sounds like she resents him.
Mm.
Oh yeah. And then what are his feelings?
Well, he's feeling attacked. Is that a feeling?
Yeah.
Probably really hurt.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's feeling
inadequate. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, Rhonda.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Put down.
Mm-hmm.
And probably ashamed. I mean, typically something you can't control. A criticism of that brings on a lot of shame.
Yeah, but maybe resentful too, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Lonely. He's feeling hurt, attacked, rejected, put down, ashamed, lonely, and resentful, and also anxious.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And maybe self-conscious.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sad.
Right.
So we want to have a better response. Are we ready to role play? He's got no EAR, no empathy, no assertiveness, and no stroking, no respect conveyed. So.
Well, I could be the wife, and how about Dr. Burns be the husband again?
Yeah, I'm on the hot seat now. So let's go for it right now.
Yeah, if it wasn't for you, I'd have a baby. I should have married someone else.
Wow, I'm feeling incredibly hurt right now, and really rejected and lonely, because I really care for you so much, and yet right now I'm feeling like I've been thrown into the garbage can. I can only imagine that you might be feeling really, really angry with me and frustrated and really sad about not having a baby, and maybe feeling kind of empty and unfulfilled, and really anxious. And I can only imagine that, we've both been feeling really sad about no pregnancy, but in addition to that, there seems to be something even more. There's a real bite in what you're saying, and I can only imagine that maybe I haven't been supportive and haven't been listening, and that you've got a lot of good reasons to be angry with me and pissed off, in addition to just feeling that you more than anything in the world want to have a baby and feel unfulfilled. And I guess you feel kind of like, maybe you need a a different husband, which is so sad for me to hear that. But can you tell me if I'm reading you right, and tell me more what this has been like for you, and tell me about your anger and your sadness and how you've been experiencing this this enormous disappointment that we've been having recently.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad, Tyann, that you asked David to role play the husband, because I can't imagine a more beautiful response.
Oh, thank you.
Do we want to let Dr. Burns grade himself first?
Well, I thought I was doing okay. I think I would have given it an A. It might have been a bit long. A lot of people like real short responses, but I felt like I was kind of capturing it, but I may have missed a dimension or two. So tell us what you think, Tyann.
Yeah, I definitely thought in the A range too. Just like you were saying, some pieces I thought could be a bit more concise because it went into like all of the feelings, and sometimes less is more.
Yeah.
It went to probably angry, frustrated, empty, unfulfilled, anxious, etc. And so that can get a little bit drawn out. But I definitely love just the transparency of the hurt, but you still brought in that you cared about her so much. But I really connected with like the disarming of listening to the message underneath it, on like hearing like there's real bite to what you're saying. I wonder if I've also just haven't been supportive in listening to you. I feel like that was really listening to a deeper message and disarming, like beyond this fertility issue. She's probably really angry to this level for something even deeper. And so I felt like that really hit on something important there. And then I connected with how you talked about this enormous disappointment for both of us, where that really felt like a teamwork too, because we didn't discuss the feelings of disappointment, but they both are probably really feeling that. And then, of course, the inquiry, how it's been like for you. So I definitely thought the A, and then it being more concise would be the A+ piece.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, I have something to add to.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little concerned that if you're talking about your feelings first, then that she might get shut down and not be able to hear the rest of the beautiful thing that you've said. So I thought it was an A. I would have given it an A+ if you had put your feelings down lower, because I was afraid that would have made her a little bit defensive. Although I loved the words that you used. I loved how you said, I feel like I've been thrown into the garbage can. And because that is really, that's also kind of the underlying what she said to him. And sometimes people say to me, well, when I'm getting attacked, I don't know what to say. And I like how you were able to say there's a bite in what you're saying, which acknowledges the depth of the pain, but isn't blaming.
Yeah.
And isn't attacking.
Yeah. Right. Nice. Another thing I'm wondering here, when she said I would have married someone else, I would just say, and also maybe we should talk about, maybe you're deciding I'm not the man for you, and you'd like to find a different husband, and that would be very, very sad for me. But I definitely am not interested in hanging on to a relationship with you if you're really having those feelings that you're looking for another husband. So tell me more about that, and maybe we need to reconsider the status of our marriage. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to reject you or walk out on you, but I do want you to know that I'm not interested in being married to a woman who doesn't want me.
What if you said that with a little bit more stroking, that, I'm committed to the relationship. I really love you. But if you're that, and I'll do everything to make the relationship work. But if you don't want to be in a relationship with me, that's another conversation. But I love you and I'm committed to being here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like that, but there's a power issue here too. I would say that, but just say I love you. I'm committed to being here. But if you're not of that mindset, then I'm definitely open to wanting to go in a different direction with my life too, because that's, you see, letting her know she's not going to pull that one on you and make you chase her.
For me personally, I think I connected more with the I wonder if I haven't been supportive in listening.
Yeah.
It's been such an enormous disappointment for us, just because I think a lot of times when they're angry, they made their, like, I should have made someone else, or, we mentally divorce our spouses probably at least once a week. And so it comes out there. And so I think listening to that deeper message instead of the literal that she wants a divorce or doesn't.
Taking the softer approach first, and you can always come back with your power message later if she doesn't soften up and open up. Because you see the lack of a child between the two of them is potentially an issue that could bring them closer. And I've seen so many couples that were at odds, and the wife couldn't get pregnant, or her husband couldn't get her pregnant, or whatever. And then all of a sudden, when they found that inner peace and the tension was gone, all of a sudden the woman was pregnant. And we saw that in the podcast with Daisy, for example. What's the meaning of life, or whatever it was. And they had been trying for months, years, for Zane and Daisy to develop a pregnancy. And she was very anxious and upset and had tremendous negative feelings, and we kind of worked them through on that podcast live. And then 1 week later, lo and behold, she was pregnant. And I've just seen that with so many. I don't know if you've seen that in your practice, Diane, but I've seen that with so many women who theoretically couldn't get pregnant, and then they got over their depression, and all of a sudden they got pregnant. Like it's the body becomes peaceful, and the baby thinks, okay, now I'm ready to, be a fertile egg or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen a whole variety of different things for people. Sometimes they continue to struggle with infertility. But just like you were saying, I think it can be a point that creates closeness, where they ultimately end up identifying their values, or they end up adopting a child, and then it becomes like connecting with the values and wanting that to complete their family, versus making it a point of blaming the other person. Because initially, sometimes there is blame of like, I told you we should have tried earlier.
Oh, I see.
That's you, that you're pushing it back. And so it does become a point of blame instead of a point of connection, which it can definitely still be made into. Yeah.
Should we do number 3 real quick and then call it a day here? Because I had a couple just like this, or number 4 this will be, but the infidelity.
Yeah, I was wondering if we could wrap up with the infidelity one.
Yeah, why don't you present this case to us, and then we'll comment and then role play it.
Okay, so this is a same-sex couple. So one of the wives have had an affair. It's been 3 years, and then the other partner continues to bring it up, throws it in her face every time there's an argument. And so the criticism is, let's say, like, I left the dishes out. So it's like, oh, I'm so bad for leaving the dishes out. How about when you cheated on me? You're the one who did the worst possible thing, so I can never trust you again. And then the partner who made the mistake and is remorseful and committed to a faithful relationship responds with, it's been 3 years. Why can't you just let it go so we can move on with our lives? I'm tired of you throwing this shit in my face all the time.
I had a case just like this, but the roles were reversed. A woman had gotten an abortion when her husband was out of town and didn't tell him. And then he was so hurt by that to retaliate, he had an affair with a woman who lived 2 blocks away and slept at her house every night for 6 months.
Wait.
And this was very humiliating then to the wife. And when they came to me, she would be trying to express the pain that she'd had, And then he would say, I already apologize. It's time for you to get over it. I'm tired of hearing this over and over again. So she never got a chance to express her feelings and be listened to. So in this case, the husband, when criticized, he counterattacks his wife and says, "How about you? The fact that you cheated on me, you're the one who did the worst possible thing, and I can never trust you again." So she's not allowed to criticize him or to express her feelings about anyone. So should we?
And in this case, is the patient or our focus the partner that had the affair and that is now recommitted?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The patient is the person who had the affair, but is often typically defensive when it's brought up and tells the other partner to get over it.
Okay. Well, how about I can be him? And Rhonda was my last wife. You want to be my new wife?
I can be your new wife.
Yeah, and you know that I'm Mormon, right? Latter-day Saints.
Good for you.
We're bringing back the multiple wives here thing. So I probably just lost 10% of our audience. I apologize for the dark humor, but at any rate, I'm so bad because I didn't carry out the trash. How about the fact of your cheating on me? You're the one who did the worst possible thing, and I can never trust you again.
It's really hard for me to hear of the affair again, and a big part of me wants us to just be able to move on. But you're right. I did a really awful thing, and I don't know if I've ever acknowledged that to you, how much I had hurt you with that betrayal. And it makes sense that you're still probably pretty pissed off with me, especially when I continue to tell you to get over it. And I want to respond to you in a different way now and hear you out. And I could imagine it's been really hurtful as well. And I love you so much. I'm committed to a faithful relationship with you and fixing my mistake. And I'm just wondering how it's been feeling like for you that I haven't acknowledged your pain and continue to tell you get over it and that I had betrayed you in this way.
Great. What grade did you give yourself?
Let me try to think if I did everything. I feel like it was in the A range, trying to acknowledge not just the cheating, but the response, the consecutive responses of dismissing him as he brought it up.
Great. What grade did you give it, Rhonda?
Well, Tyann, your language and your sense of emotional intelligence is so, deep. I thought I also would give you in the A range. It was really beautiful. I loved how you acknowledge that it's hard for me to hear about the affair again, but then you're right, I did do this. And I liked the balance in that disarm. And I would have, to me, it was an A. I would have given it an A plus if there's just a little tiny bit more stroking. Mm. I mean, you can say that I'm committed to being in a faithful relationship with you and was stroking, but I wanted to hear a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I gave the same. I gave it a strong A. I would have, similar to what you were saying, Rhonda. What you said, Rhonda, was great because I'm committed. That sounds like I'm following some rule, but I'm committed to you because I've found just how much I love you. And how much I care about you, emotionally and sexually and in every way. But I'm sure what I did must have really pissed you off and maybe hurt you. And I can imagine how lonely and rejected you might have felt. And maybe you're still feeling kind of lonely and rejected by me and anxious and and feeling like you can't trust me. And tell me more about that. I'm finally ready and willing to listen. I want to hear what you have to say. It's hard for me to hear about that. And but this is could be the most important conversation we'll ever have. And with that, tell me more. What's it like for you right now? Even there's David's long response, but it's yeah.
Yeah, I love both of your feedback because he's so hurt and feeling unloved that I think that additional warmth could just really disarm that stroking. And I'm thinking even like, I feel so ashamed for what I've done because you're the most important person to me. I love you so much. And like, I don't ever want to hurt you like that again, or something like that could add to the warmth.
Yeah. And you could even say, if you never forgive me, I wouldn't blame you a bit. I'd totally understand. I don't know if I've been able to forgive myself, to be honest.
That's true.
Well, what are the take-home messages for any of our listeners who might have found some value or interest in what we're saying here?
To me, one of the take-home messages is the willingness to be vulnerable is the key to being close to someone. And with that, as you said, David, is the need for the death of the ego. Like even in this just example, when you said, yeah, I can understand why you don't forgive me. I hardly forgive myself. That vulnerability and the willingness to admit their own mistakes and shame in this situation is probably a key to the repairing of the relationship. Oh, yeah.
Those are great points. How about you, Tyann? What do you see as the take-home messages?
Use the 5 secrets if you want to get laid.
Yeah, that's you say things
well, it can't be your aim.
so elegantly. I love that. I was teaching the 5 secrets in a workshop, and it was a 2-day workshop, and at the end of day 1, some fellow had a similar kind of deal with his wife. They hadn't had sex in 6 months, and he was horny and kept pressuring his wife. She wasn't at the workshop. And so we did kind of like this analysis and showed him how he's like being demanding and pushing, and he's not listening to her, and he needs to be more empathic and disarming and, also share his own feelings. And so he promised to go home and try it that night and give us a report the next morning at the workshop. There were maybe 100, 200 therapists there at the workshop trying to learn the 5 secrets. So the next morning he came in and said that he had been using the 5 secrets with his wife, and they ended up making love for, half the night or more. And then she said to him, you should go to David Burns' workshops more often. So go ahead.
That should be the title, the title of this podcast. Use the 5 secrets if you want to get laid.
Yeah, I'll call it that. That'll be, that's right. And also, if you want your life to improve, learn to use the listening skills. And you think you know how to listen, but you don't. You're actually a shitty listener, every one of you. And so don't fool yourself into thinking you're any good, because you're not. But just like the people in these examples, they're all arguing and talking about themselves, and none of them are acknowledging the feelings of the other person, finding truth in what the other person is saying, using inquiry to open the other person up, sharing your own feelings with I feel statements in a vulnerable and tender way, and combining that with stroking and loving feelings. And that takes a lot of effort. If you want to learn how to do it, get my book Feeling Good together, and while you read it, do the written exercises, and then find someone to practice with the exact exercise we're showing you here, or the relationship journal we alluded to earlier. And if you want it, if you work at it, you can change your life. You can learn how to do this. but it will require great motivation on your part and great effort and work, reading, written work, and practice. It won't come any more easily than sitting down to a piano and expecting to play. You've got to take lessons, you've got to work at it, but if you do, you can learn to make some beautiful music, and your life can become more joyous, more loving, and more peaceful.
And it really is a lifetime process too, because you can do it well once and listen well, and then we all relapse into making the errors and mistakes again.
How long did it take you, Tyann, to develop your mega level of amazing skill? And by the way, if any of you are in Oklahoma looking for a therapist, what is your contact email, Tyann? How do they get a hold of you?
Tyann is actually my mom's name, so that's funny.
That's cool.
They could find me through www.lastingchangetherapy.com.
LastingChangeTherapy.com. LastingChangeTherapy, all one word, .com. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm actually opening up a TEAM-CBT group practice. And so there will be more options and availability of TEAM-CBT services for Oklahomans, which I'm really passionate about offering.
Great. Now, in addition to being a fantastic, one of the world's greatest therapists, Tyann is one of the world's greatest psychotherapy teachers and offers all kinds of introductory classes and TEAM-CBT. So suppose a therapist is listening to this and says, I dig that lady and I would like to learn from her. What should they do to get in contact with you, Tyann?
My training website is TEAM-CBTtraining.com, all one word. Cool. And I'm actually putting on a TEAM-CBT conference for Oklahoman therapists next March. And it's a 3-day intensive with all 20 CEUs for any mental health professionals who want all of their CEUs in a 3-day conference. And then they'll get to learn awesome TEAM-CBT skills.
That's neat. So we'll mention all of these in the show notes. I'll send you the show notes so you can make sure everything is written properly. But are you going to have any online classes? Next March is almost a year away. Do you have any classes online that therapists can sign up for now?
They could always look on my website. My next one is September the 17th and the 24th, but I think this will be published after.
I see.
Rhonda.
Yes, this will be published in October.
Yeah.
Well, they can be going to your website and looking and noticing when things come up, and then they can take one of your amazing classes. So
yes,
thank you so much.
I've taken a class or two with Tyann, and I can definitely confirm that she's a wonderful teacher.
Yeah, is she a lot like Jill?
Yes, she is a lot like Jill.
Yeah, it's amazing that we're really lucky to have people of you, Tyann, of your brilliance, but also your gentleness and gracefulness to know and to learn from.
Thank you so much for feeding my narcissistic ego. Please
you're welcome. It's kind of a mutual admiration society that we run here. Okay. Thank you, Rhonda.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tyann, and thank you, David. And
thank you, Rhonda.
Thanks, everyone, for listening. Until next time.
This has been another episode of the Feeling Good podcast. For more information, visit Dr. Burns' website at feelinggood.com, where you will find the show notes under the podcast page. You will also find archives of previous episodes and many resources for therapists and non-therapists. We welcome your comments and questions. If you want to support the show, please share the podcast with people who might benefit from it. You could also go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. I am your host, Rhonda Borowski, the director of the Feeling Great Therapy Center. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I invite you to join us next time for another episode of the Feeling Good podcast.